Hi, my name is Eric Dillon, and I am the Senior Instructor at the JSOG Training Center in Fresno, California. Today we're going to talk about brazing. Again. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the internationally accepted way for oxidate settling brazing of copper. There's really only one acceptable way to set up your torch. We want to run a neutral flame. We're going to fire up our oxygen at full bore, as long as you get it about halfway open, you're good. Our acetylene, however, we only want to open that about a quarter turn, and the reason I do that is for safety, so that we can shut it off quickly in the case of an emergency. We're going to dial in our secondary regulator on the acetylene at precisely 5. We're going to dial in our secondary regulator on our oxygen at exactly 10. And this is where we're going to achieve our neutral flame. Once we get to that step, I'll show you how to fire up the torch appropriately. Today we're going to put an emphasis on purging with nitrogen while we braze. This is an important step. It's going to be a requirement really with the new A2Ls. It is important because it helps keep the inside of the copper clean, and as you can see, I've already got a setup here. We're going to braze that in here in a second, and then we'll go through the next steps after that. One other thing we want to emphasize is the importance of reaming your copper. You know, this is a nice handy little reamer. We want to do it so that we don't get shavings inside the copper, and also brushing your fittings. Right, we want to make sure that these fittings are ready to accept the silver, copper, phosphorus mixture that we're going to be putting in there as a filler metal. And of course, sanding is always important also. We want to make sure we have a clean copper base to get started. Okay, so we've already dialed in our secondary regulators to 5 on the acetylene, 10 on the oxygen, and then we've done that with the gas valves open so that we're getting true pressure. Now we're going to go ahead and fire up the torch. We want to start by opening our acetylene. I like to say at least a quarter turn so that we want to get that black soot that comes out. And then we'll bring in our nitrogen, or our oxygen rather, slowly so that we can achieve that neutral flame. And it's going to look something like this. Once we eliminate all that flutter, and you see we've got a very sharp blue flame. If we go a little further, you'll hear a sound change. It's a slight sound change. You can see it got a little too tight. That's too far. This is our, once we eliminate that flutter, that is our optimum neutral flame, and that's what we want to braze with when we're dealing with copper. I always like to use a little bit of a bend in my silphos, makes it a little easier to maneuver around. We're going to go ahead and braze in the Schrader valve because we will be purging with nitrogen on this little test. This isn't exactly a fitting, but we always want to heat the cup whenever possible. We want to draw the silphos into the opening, and we want to fill the gap. Okay, so we've already hooked up to our port that we welded onto the copper line set already. We're going to go ahead and open our nitrogen tank. And if you can see that, you'll see that the secondary regulator, I've already dialed it way back because we don't need a lot of pressure to do this. And then we're going to obviously have that connected to our gauge manifold set. And we're going to open this very slowly, and we're just looking for 2 or 3 psi is all we're looking for. You're just barely going to hear it if you can hear it on the camera at all. And I'm just now starting to hear it, and that's all we're going to do. And just quickly, we want to put an emphasis back on the importance of reaming the copper, right? And sanding it so that we have a nice clean surface and a smooth surface for when we do our actual filler. Okay, so as we get ready to fire up our torch, we've already double checked and made sure that our secondaries are set at 5 on the acetylene, 10 on the oxygen, and so we are ready to go. We're going to go ahead and open this up about a quarter turn. A lot of guys want to talk about temperature and they want to adjust their torch settings for temperature. That is not how you control temperature with oxyacetylene for copper. We control it by the distance that we hold it from the copper. So it's never a bad idea to take a flashlight and an inspection mirror if needed and inspect your welds or your brazes if you prefer. I'm very confident in my ability, and I think we will find that this is very solid. I'm confident in my methods that I have bonded between the cup and the copper, and I'm never ever going to have a leak on this short of somebody messing with it. Okay, just to give it a little example, we've actually taken a piece that I just brazed and we've cut the piece out, we've split it and opened it up so you can see the difference here and how clean it is, right? There's a little discoloration, but we don't have the carbon buildup like we have on the outside. By comparison, here's a piece that did not have nitrogen purged through it while it was brazed, and you can see there's a significant difference, and this is why it's important that we use the nitrogen purge when we are brazing to keep that inside to that copper nice and clean. Eventually this stuff here can flake off, can get into a TXV or anywhere else. We don't want that in the system, so purge with nitrogen, guys. Thank you for joining us for Brazing again. If you're interested, we offer a very comprehensive brazing course at the JSOG Training Center in Fresno, where we provide real-world experience for your real-world career.